Alright, when I jumped into this video, I thought it was just going to be a quick rundown of Nebula Joy and how they handled the X-Dive Global license. For those who don't know, Mega Man X-Dive was a gacha game developed by Capcom Taiwan, and Nebula Joy had the license for handling the global release. They didn't actually add any new developments or anything like that. But now that both games have closed down, I dug into Nebula Joy's handling of that license, and the more I dug, the more shocked I became over how things were managed. I keep my finger on the pulse in regards to everything Mega Man related. I know the community is starving for new games right now, and the last whiff of a new project was Time Rift XZ, a mobile game that was also going to be handled by Nebula Joy, only for it to be cancelled. Now, Nebula Joy has been viewed with scorn from the Mega Man community. Some fans like to defend them, and to an extent, I can understand why. While X-Dive Global was online, they were very communicable on Discord, and even did consistent streams to give away codes and sales. But there is a ton of controversy surrounding how they ran Mega Man X-Dive Global. Previously, I actually did a video about the very controversial week of X-Dive Global coming out. Eventually I deleted it because most of it was just me ranting about Global starting from scratch compared to Taiwan, which I didn't know was typical for most mobile games at the time. But there were a lot more issues than just starting from scratch. Without even properly introducing themselves, Nebula Joy announced the beta for the Global X-Dive. People were like, who? Is this a scam? And the beta asking for permission to make phone calls didn't reassure people. And during the beta, they heavily implied that there was going to be global exclusive content compared to Taiwan. Later on, however, this proved false because Capcom literally told them no, and they had to firmly state that later during interviews. But eventually, X-Dive Global was officially released, and it wasn't exactly global. Latin America servers were separated and opened later. And then there was the fact that a slew of new players simply couldn't log into the game. Nebula Joy tried their best to troubleshoot issues on Discord, which, I mean, good on them. They were quick and responsive. However, an admin was asking users to share their IP address with them, and no, that's a major security concern, please don't do that. And during all this, people started to notice advertisement for X-Dive Global, which... Okay, so I've been showcasing how the game actually plays in the background, so you could take a look at these ads. Then there's also this.
Another episode of How You Die. Let's see how our first player does. There are traps all around. What's going on? Dead. Is it really that hard?
Now, it's not uncommon for ads to actually not showcase gameplay, but I mean, come on, look at the quality. It was abysmal, and people were laughing and pointing at all the mistakes. Smigma balls. The person in charge of marketing accidentally leaked the yet-to-be-announced Nana too. She wouldn't be playable till a year and a half later on Taiwan, and they had their content ahead of time. Actually, while fact-checking this video, I reached out and had a brief exchange of Brian from the Rockman Corner. I ran the bulletin points of this script with him to make sure everything was accurate, but he also added on that the marketing staff gave the impression of being lazy. In fact, regarding Nana, they argued with Brian, trying to correct the fact that Nana wasn't Alia. Alia is the main navigator from the official Mega Man X games starting from the 5th entry. Nana is a side character from the RPG spin-off Command Mission. So the fact that the Rockman Corner had to show proof is like, why is this advertiser adamant in being wrong? Like, you're arguing with one of the best lore heads in the Mega Man community. Come on, you could even check the wiki to see it's correct. It wasn't just that though. The marketing team primarily relied on the Rockman Corner to do all the announcements, while getting paid for not marketing, I suppose. But sooner or later, Nebula Joy found out, and apparently the person running all these advertisements and trailers got fired. They even changed their YouTube channel to reflect that. But if you go on it now, you could see that they later got rehired. But while he was fired, he was responsible for leaking that Time Rift XZ trailer that confused people even further. But okay. There was some startup hiccups and stuff outside of Nebula Joy's control because that was just a marketing person running amok. They trudge along and X-Dive Global would continue running, and I admit, I was playing along in the beginning and they were very charitable with the premium currency, but there was also a bunch of issues. For example, people know about energy systems in mobile games, right? There would be events and you'd spend all your energy to get the most points from it, but sometimes they'd run 2 events simultaneously and that drained all your energy so you couldn't do one without doing the other. Then they kept accidentally removing free stuff, which, you know, it could look like they're trying to get more money from you, but it could have just been a slip up too. Either case is not looking really good for Nebula Joy. But they did try to do minor unique events compared to the base Taiwan version, and they were very active on Discord and started becoming more transparent with Q&As and interviews. Good stuff, honestly, they addressed all this controversy. But remember how I said they implied global exclusive content before? The reality is, they really couldn't do much. They couldn't even make new events, just repurpose already existing ones, and even then just slightly. So all these issues started becoming blame Capcom, and people were like, oh okay. But then things start to get a little worse. Now I don't want to focus on every global banner controversy under Nebula Joy's belt, because truthfully, Capcom could have been the one forcing him to make worse decisions regarding the gacha rates. However, I will highlight a particular embarrassing scandal that was aired out in public. So about a year later, there was a Monster Hunter collaboration with Valstrax Zero and Zenogre Iris. If you're unfamiliar with how banners work, basically you spend a currency hoping to get a character or weapon from the banner advertised. And they're usually around for a limited time, and sometimes they might not even come back. So for this Monster Hunter collaboration, there was an outcry because of Zero and Iris having separate banners instead of being together. And also, they had worse odds to be dropped compared to the Taiwanese version. Now again, Capcom could have forced this, but the admins tried to justify it on public, saying that them being separate would be better odds because you could get the one you want faster. However, the community showed a math explaining that no, potentially you'll have to spend twice as much, so the admins continued to justify the separation by doing a live stream and showing their attempts at the gacha machine.
Let's see how long it takes. It was a disaster after remember? Oh, there's a drill setting on red.
Now here's the thing, the admin can just give themselves unlimited premium currency, it's not a big deal for them. But they'd go on to show that it took them 25 of the 10 pull drops to get Iris.
It's all good. It's all good. Because when you pull, the possibility of this happening should be nevertheless.
That's 250 attempts technically, and that costs 25,000 elemental metals, the premium currency, and he only got the character because he tried so many times that he had to use the pity system to get Iris. So technically, Iris never even dropped from the gacha.
This game is not about getting every single new character and max them out, every single time. Right?
And for the record, buying the most EMs at the times cost a little over $100. You get like 4,000 for 100, let's say. Suddenly, X-Dive Offline being $30 off sales seems a lot more reasonable, doesn't it? Now, I will admit, what the admin said about it being unlikely for players getting everybody rings true for every gacha. That's just the reality of it, unless you're a whale. But it's just how adamant he was about arguing his point on Discord and then proving the naysayers right in the process. But talking about these live streams, now, I said previously that Nebula Joy had fans because of their constant social media presence, but over time the admins took this goodwill for granted. The power went to their heads basically, and there were multiple reports of them muting and banning anyone that just happened to get on their bad side. Look at this, you couldn't even joke in defense of the admins because they would sometimes misinterpret and threaten you with a ban. By the way, I'd like to thank WeedSmoker69438 on Reddit for archiving this thread and keeping the links alive. It was a big help for this video and made me dig deeper into the abandoned Discord. Because surprisingly, the X-Dive Global Discord is still online and active, but the admins have already left. Also, fun fact, something strange happened shortly after I rejoined the Discord and started this project, but I'll save that for later. But yeah, the admin known as 0x would run these live streams, during which they would give out flash sales and codes for those who participated. Honestly, that sounds dope. I love it when people engage with the community, you know?
Okay, most of you are from my Discord channel. From our Discord channel, Bao3D, welcome. Sorry you got banned.
But even then, Nebula Joy managed to screw this up because these sales and codes, they only lasted an hour. And again, this game is global. Time zones exist, and not everyone can participate in the streams whether they're in bed, working, or who knows. But so these codes lasting at least 24 hours should be the bare minimum. So when people pointed that out, the admin just told them,
sorry, you missed out for having a life.
and to make an already bad situation even worse, they'd have flash sales that were hosted for only 20 minutes, and they were notorious for multi-charging people and not actually giving what they purchased. And while some of these streams are advertised as friendly, you know what, no, I'll let Zero X speak for themselves.
Well, why is he doing this? What a little bitch, dude. I'm trying to give away the next code, and this little bitch is doing this.
And unfortunately, this attitude continues onto their Devil May Cry game that they also run.
Wait, what song is this? Do you want to get banned? Do you want to get banned? Asking what song this is will get you banned, guys, alright? So don't do it.
So, how else can you screw over your community? Oh yeah, the fan art contest. Xdive Global held a fan art contest where winners can be paid with a large sum of premium. However, they were criticized for allowing AI-generated art to enter the contest, and they've apparently ran multiple art contests where the mods always seem to win. Also, these contests were ran pretty poorly since they just close them early without giving a heads up, so not every artist can submit their work in time. And I haven't even gotten into the stolen fan art controversy where Nebula Joy used this for advertisement. But hey, at least Nebula Joy were active on Twitter where they kept on top of posting new events, for North America and Europe. Sadly, Latin America was mostly neglected. In fact, Latin America in general got the shaft, I'm sorry. Even during the Latin anniversary stream, the admins still sign in to the North America server. And that's probably because there's a litany of glitches and also longer content droughts, so Latin America was way behind compared to everybody else. And even the Latin players switched regional servers simply because they'd suffer less lag playing on North American servers. Now for this next claim, I don't have the evidence to back it up, so take it with a grain of salt. But allegedly, Nebula Joy began to employ Latin users on Discord to translate the game, and they only paid them with minimal premium currency. I don't know exactly how much that means. And unfortunately, I can't show any receipts or proof because it was in an admin-only channel on the Xdive Global Discord. But that's okay though, Nebula Joy managed to get by through not translating the game anymore. Yeah, the rest of it was just in English, and Latin users was just plagued with a bunch of unique glitches such as not even being able to shop anymore. Amazing. But now let's move on ahead. Rockman Xdive announced their end of service, you know, the one in Taiwan, and kept the game operational. Shops were closed down and they were giving bundles of freemium so that we could keep playing until the end. We were even able to refund unused paid currency after the closure. Now I'm not saying the Taiwanese version was perfect, it had its issues and glitches too, but honestly they handled this closure a lot more gracefully. And I was engaged with the community too, and I had a closure stream where I hung out with the other players to the very last minute. It was very emotional for me. Shout out to Jiro Express, by the way. But during this, Global claimed it would remain online indefinitely, and were in talks with Capcom about keeping the game running with new stuff. But the hard truth was, no. All they could do in the meantime was buff pre-existing characters and advertise them as new units. It was admittedly a clever way to stretch out a gacha with its fate set in stone, but it was misleading all the same. So it came time for Global to naturally close its doors, and they only did it 1 month in advance. If you still had any paid currency left, well, people were instructed to go through their mobile provider. And this news shocked Latin players the most because, well, they didn't even get the announcement. The official Latin page for Xdive Global stopped posting nearly a year ago. Some of them didn't even know it was happening and were wondering why they couldn't play the game anymore. Which leads me to, yeah, remember all the way back in the beginning where I mentioned people had sign-in issues? Yeah, that was still an issue until the very end. People needed the admins to do a manual transfer in case their account suffered a bug where they couldn't log in anymore. But Nebula Joy was silent for more than half a year until the announcement. So you'd see a list of people complaining, asking for their account transfer, and all their requests falling on deaf ears. So that's it, right? Xdive is done, Nebula Joy's mishandling is done. Well, it's time to talk about Time Rift, the previously announced and cancelled Mega Man game. They actually rebranded this name and used it to re-release Xdive Online in China. This rightfully confused people because not only is this game's destination already set in stone, but also Xdive Offline was already available for China for over a year. But the name change was due to censorship. They couldn't use Xdive, but another result of censorship was, well, look at Alia. Yeah, that was definitely a rush job. So this X-Dive rebranded as Time Rift launched with online features enabled. Kind of silly to relaunch a game with a predetermined lifespan, but hey, people were desperate to relive online features, I guess. So desperate, in fact, that there are reports of people stealing the personal information of Chinese citizens to play it. Which, of course that's illegal, don't do that. One more thing. The gacha rates. They were already reduced in global, as pointed out before, but now? Fractions of a percent for nearly anything that might give you an advantage. Stay classy, Nebula Joy. Now, the reason I started this project was because there were reports of Nebula Joy potentially closing the game down again, because they went silent on all social media sites again. But shortly after the Rockman Corner announced the potential end of service announcement, Nebula Joy decided to strike back from the grave. So no ending announcement yet. However, remember a while back I referenced something in the Discord? While I was digging for citation and receipts in the global Discord, someone odd popped up and urged everybody to hop on Time Rift to get boosted in the PvP arena. Now, the reason people were buying personal information was because this game requires Chinese citizenship to even access. And apparently this anonymous user had a history of jumping on Mega Man related discords and urging people to break the law to play the game. And if you said no, then you're racist. Part of me wants to believe that this might be a Nebula Joy employee going undercover to help promote Time Rift, but it could just also be a random jerk on the internet. However, peek this screen cap of Anonymous arguing while driving. So for now, that's where we're left off. You can comment about how fast live service games seem to die off in today's gaming landscape, but I'm just sad because this is Mega Man we're talking about. It's not small, it's not a niche IP, there's a large population of fans starving for new content, and there always will be. But the thing we have to accept and understand is that there's different factions and fandoms within the Mega Man universe. You've got Classic, X, Legends, Zero, ZX, Battle Network, and Star Force, and only 2 of those franchises have closure. Technically Star Force if you played Star Force 3, but there was a Part 4 announced and was cancelled. And what makes me love Mega Man as a whole so much also holds it back because there's just so much to cover. I know Capcom is apprehensive in handling new titles these days because of the saturation, but that was 20 years ago. Right now they're twiddling their thumbs while some company with a license like Nebula Joy goes off mishandling the franchise like this. And I guess this video is both me highlighting the fact, and also I'm low-key venting and seething right now. Anyways, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. I want to thank the folks in the RxD Derivative Works server for giving me more topics to cover, and also a quick thank you to Brian at the Rockman Corner for taking the time to offer input. There was more I wanted to cover in this video, but it was either too many examples of the same topic, or dragged on a specific point too long. And I didn't want to include other stuff like toxic individuals running amok in the Nebula Joy Discord. But if you have any personal experiences you'd like to share, let me know. I do read and engage with the comments. But yeah, that's enough for now. Thank you for watching. See ya.
This からもよろしくお願い